Hi everyone, my name is Baptiste Pinson-Wu, author of historical fiction and historical fantasy. Welcome to my Wooniverse. In this video, I will answer a question I've been asked a lot recently, and by that I mean that at least 5 people asked me over the last months, which for me is a lot. How do I write so much? Or how do I write so fast? So I will answer this question with all my secret techniques so that you too can write as much as me. First thing first, you don't need to write as much or as fast as me or anyone else. There is no such thing as writing minimum amount of words. It all depends on your available time and your will to write, your energy, and many other things that have nothing to do with technique. And writing a lot usually doesn't equate to quality. Now, obviously, if you can write fast and a lot and quality, that's perfect. And that's what I am striving for. But this is not like compulsory at all. And then I have to bust the myth right there. I actually don't write that much. It's just an illusion. But I get it. It looks like I'm writing a lot and that I'm writing really fast, especially because of my activity of the last year. Over the past 1 year, I have published 4 books. Then I've announced 2 more, and I've written 1 more that, you know, I promoted already as being written. So it looks like altogether I have, well, it doesn't look like, I have basically discussed 7 books of mine in the past year. Now that looks like a lot, right? But in reality, I didn't write all of them last year. Far from it. So if we look at those 7 books, 3 of them were written in 2020, 2021, so long before 2024. Now, among the last 3, one of them is a novella, so it's fairly short. And the 2 others, yes, I did write them last year. So altogether, I wrote 2 books plus a novella, and the novella was written a little bit before as well. So really, I just wrote 2 books last year. On average, I write about 3 books a year. And those books are not really big. Usually they stand around 90,000 words. That's like 300, 350 pages. My biggest one so far is this one, Dynasty Killers. You can see it's not a chunker, right? You have books that are 2-3 times bigger than this. So on average, it amounts to about 250, 270,000 words per year, which is the case last year because I wrote a book, Warlords of Owari, that is 180,000 words, so twice longer than usual. So even though I wrote 2 books, it's like 3 of my regular books. So now let's say that I write every day of the week, which is not the case, or at least not every week's. 270,000 words, that's on average. Well, that's a lot of average. I will try to avoid saying the word average from now on. But on average, it's 1,000 words per day. And since I write maybe half of the year, let's say when I do actively write, I write about 2,000 to 3,000 words a day, which is good, you know, I'm quite proud of it, but that is not impossible. So in order to write something like 3 average-sized books per year, you have to write on about 2,000 words per day, half of the year, or 1,000 words a day, every weekday of the year. So that was just to say I am not writing as much as it looks like. Now, how can you write that much? Let's discuss my very secret techniques. Spoiler alert, there is no secret. It's like in Kung Fu Panda. Some of you are not going to be happy with my very first technique. I plot. Having a plot, having a fairly detailed plot, helps me write a lot because, well, I'm always excited about the next scene. I am always writing because I want to write the next scene or the one after, the second chapter after that, whatever it is. There is something in the plot that I look forward to writing, to getting to, and I'm excited about the next writing session. So plotting helps this way. And also because I have a plot, I can always see the light at the end of the tunnel. So when I reach this infamous 35-40% mark of the story, well, I know I'm there and I know how much plot there is left, how much of the story there is left, and that helps going through those moments that are maybe not as exciting or a bit difficult to remain motivated with. Plus, it also means that I have very few moments when I'm just looking at the screen wondering what to write, and that helps quite a lot with writing fast, no breaks, or not so many. Now, there is so much more to say about how to plot or how do I plot. So as you probably guessed, there will be a video on this topic in the future. So make sure to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss this video as well. Now, number 2, I heard you laughing. I read what I wrote the previous day and no further than this. So, and not only I read, but that's pretty much all I do. I read what I wrote the previous day. I don't try to fix it until there is something truly jarring. I don't touch what I wrote. I just read it so that I can get back into the story, into the mood that I tried to set the previous day. So I don't waste too much time reading the manuscript, or I don't waste time editing it during the first draft. That's not what it's for. Leave it alone, that will be for later. Number 3, I like to listen to the same music as I write a book. So what it means is that while I work the first draft of a manuscript, I listen to the same original soundtrack, the same album over and over again. It's a tad tedious, but it creates this kind of Pavlovian reflex where I just hear the music and it puts me in a mood for writing. Now, some of the sounds I've listened to over my different books are the original soundtrack of The Witcher 3, anything from Dunheim, the OST from Romance of the Three Kingdoms games, the OST from the movie Redcliffe, a bunch of traditional music such as Takahashi Chikuzan or some koto. Now, when the action goes up in the manuscript, I tend to switch to some epic battle music, but otherwise I don't change it much. Now it's your turn. Please let me know in the comments what kind of music you like to listen to as you write, or that you think would make good music for the background of my writing sessions. It's time to refresh this thing a little bit. I can't stand Dunheim anymore. No, I'm kidding. I love them. They are awesome. Number 4, and this one is gonna annoy a few people too. I love the writing process. Now, most of us writers or aspiring writers love the result. We love the idea of a book cover with our name on it in the hands of readers. But it's so much better if you also love the process and not just the result. Now, how do you do this? How do you fall in love with the process of writing? It's quite easy. You just have to realize that writing offers the same kind of distraction as a video game, as working out, or even reading a book. So because writing is like, it's a work also, it's a hobby, but it's also work, we have this negative image of the process, but actually it's really close to all those examples I just gave. For example, when you play a game, a video game, you do something. You use your brain, you work some intricate problems, you try different solutions, and then you move on to the next stage. Well, this is exactly like writing. Plus, all those examples I gave offer a nice distraction from the world, so which is why we like them. But writing is the same. While you write, you get to play with your characters, play with yourself in another world, and so basically don't think about it as a chore, even though, well, it is a chore, it is hard, but it is also enjoyable, so you shouldn't go to it with dread. Just love the writing process as much as the result, and it will be very easy to write more. Number 5, make full use of your time. You probably know this saying about fishermen who cannot go to sea, use their time to fix their nets. Well, it is exactly the same with writing. You can't always be writing. You need to work, you need to cook, you need to commute, take care of your family. I should probably have put this one first. So you don't always have the available time for writing, the freedom to write. It doesn't mean you cannot help your writing during those moments. In truth, you have a lot of time that you can be used to make your next writing session smoother. I tend to daydream for hours on end so that by the time I get in front of the keyboard, I actually just transcribe what I already wrote in there. And yes, it does sometimes look weird, and it's not always easy to explain people who don't write, but this and this and this too is also part of the writing process. Now, maybe don't do this too much during the family time. It's not gonna make everyone happy. Now, number 6 is not really a skill or a technique in itself, but it's a point I would like to raise right now. Among the people who ask me how do I write so much or so fast, recently 2 of them are good friends of mine and mentioned, as we discussed, that imposter syndrome was slowing down their writing process or even stopping it completely. And in truth, I had never really thought about imposter syndrome being an issue during the writing process. I completely understood it for publishing, why it could prevent you from publishing your work, but I had never really thought about it during the writing process, but it makes complete sense. So I guess it goes something like you are writing and then a part of your brain is like, who am I kidding? I'm not a writer. I cannot write as well as this writer or that writer. I'll never make that book that I would love to write as good as it deserves to be. Something like this. Now, I really get it, and it did happen to me a couple of times to think like this. But in reality, here is the thing. Your ego doesn't belong in the writing room. When I write, I do not exist anymore. I am just a conduit for the story to go from my mind to the screen. That was a little too Matthew McConaughey in there. I heard it. Sorry about that. But really, that's all it is. You know, I am not in the writing room with myself as I write my first draft. Stepping into that room with yourself, with your thoughts outside of the story, that would be like trying to write with someone watching over your shoulder, and I don't know you, but I cannot do that. Oui.
Ah non, rien.
Bon bah
C'est juste que t'as fait une faute là. Ça va, tu permets là?
Yeah, I still talk to myself in French. And if it helps with imposter syndrome, you have to know, I can guarantee that every book that you've ever read and enjoyed was way worse during the first draft. Good chance is that those books were awful in their first draft. Now, I don't know if you consider my writing good, but I can promise you that my first drafts are garbage. They are pretty bad, and my beta readers can attest to it. Now, usually I send them the 3rd or 4th draft, but even then, I managed to leave them some awful turds in the manuscript, and now that I mention it, I'm pretty sure you will find some of those in the comments of this video. So really, don't worry about the quality of your work as you produce your first draft. It does not matter. Just write the whole stuff and then you'll make it better. All right, let's recap. So number 1, I plot. Number 2, I only read what I wrote the previous day and I don't fix it. Number 3, I listen to the same music over and over. Number 4, I love the writing process. Number 5, like the mambo, I use all my unavailable time to prepare the next writing session. And number 6, I leave my ego outside of the writing room. Now, how about you, dear writer friends? Do you have any trick to writing more or writing faster? That does not involve AI, by the way, that doesn't count. And please share your tricks in the comments to help your friends from the community. That's it for me today. I'll be back soon. Cheers.